Howdy, it's Jim Morado, and this is late September 2022. We just got off our cruise ship, the Norwegian Jewel, and we're in Skagway, Alaska. Right here, right in this spot, is kind of where you wait around for excursions. This was just the main meeting spot for excursions, and as you'll see here in a moment, there were helicopters right next to us, taking off, probably to look at glaciers. But this, I will say, I'll go on record, this was my favorite town that we stopped at on our Alaskan cruise. And we did two incredible excursions here. In fact, at the moment, we're waiting to meet for our Good Time Girls and Ghosts tour done by the Red Onion. And I'll put up another video on that later. And then we also did a dog musher camp excursion that was probably a few hours long, if not more. One excursion we didn't do here involved a train ride. Anyway, we had quite a long time here in town. We did one excursion in the morning, the Good Time Girls and Ghosts tour, and that was 2 hours long. It was great. If you stop here, do that tour. It was hysterical, and again, I'll put up something on that later. And also do the dog musher tour. It was great, and I might put up a tiny bit of it at the end of this video. But Skagway itself, man, look at those buildings. It might be a little hard to tell at the moment, and they got these great old trains here. Some of the storefronts are still retro and they're old, and they could you could use this town as a double for an old west town, most of it anyway. And it was just a pretty town. Several national park units here. I'll mention at least one or two here before the video's over. Right now, we're starting our Mushers Camp and Sled Dog Discovery Tour. And a really nice fellow named Axel came and picked us up at our cruise ship, kind of the little meeting spot, and drove us quite a ways out to a Mushers Camp, where we did kind of not a traditional musher ride, but kind of a practice one. It was in kind of a motorized vehicle, but we still had dogs pulling us, and it was really, really cool. I know some of the excursions, as I was looking at them, you could go to a musher's camp, but not all of them let you do a ride, and I really wanted to do some sort of a ride with the little musher dogs, and this one allowed it. Axel, again, the fellow that picked us up, he was incredible, and he gave us a great tour of the town as we were leaving it. And this ended up being kind of like several different excursions all tied into one, with his narration around town and telling us about stuff. It was great. Watch my other video. I'm going to put up the full video of that elsewhere. And if you're going to be in Skagway, I highly recommend both of those excursions that I just mentioned. But Skagway on its own, you've got this little Main Street area. There was a great bookstore, you know, with some books, local interest books that I liked a lot. A couple of gift shops that we just loved. We only had a couple of hours to explore, though, which I sure want more time to explore next time we're in Alaska. But this was just a great town. Wanted to tip my hat to their post office also. It was the friendliest post office that I dealt with in Alaska, and they really sweet lady there. Talked to her for some time about postal history and collecting postmarks, and just wanted to mention that. There's the Red Onion, and again, I'm going to put up another video about that. It's an old brothel, and you can take like a little tour. They also have like a little restaurant in there, and they did a tour of the town. And there's the Camp Skagway. There's a little story on that Axel tells on the Musher video. If you watch that, then I'm going to put up. Also, I think a fact that I had in the back of my head somewhere but I'd forgotten about is part of the intro to Northern Exposure was filmed here in Skagway, and I'm a huge fan of that show. If the last 10 minutes or so of the last episode doesn't bring tears to your eyes, you know, as they're playing Our Town, there's something wrong with you. I had the pleasure of seeing John Cullum on Broadway in Waitress when I was in New York City, and I loved that show, and it was exciting to think about northern exposure, that intro with the moose being filmed through here. Another thing, real quick, I know this is a short video. We had actually booked an excursion to get on a train and go to, well, go through the Yukon, and actually the province of Yukon. I guess that's how you would say it in Canada. And I was very, oh, by the way, there's the post office, great post office. I was excited about that excursion, but it got canceled. Someone on the ship told us that Canada kind of has put in some red tape on some of those excursions, making that difficult. So we ended up doing the Good Time Girls tour and the Musher tour. Also, as you can tell right here, there's several cruise ships. And when we walked back to our cruise ship, we actually took one of the areas going to a different one, and it took us a little while to get back to our cruise ship. So pay attention if you're walking back to your cruise ship. And there was, yeah, this is one of the national park units about the Klondike Gold Rush. That little ranger there, he was great. We talked to him for quite a while. This one is actually managed by the U.S. and Canada. Canada kind of pulled out, though, when COVID started, and it's now just kind of managed by the U.S., but we stopped there and chatted with him for a while, got our passport stamps, and a couple of other units here in town. I would have liked to have spent more time at them, but we literally had about 2 hours to explore the town, not counting our excursions. And there's a famous picture you're supposed to take in town. You can, you know, there's the cruise ship at the end of the street, and what a pretty street that is. It's just so, it's right out of casting. We really loved this town. A couple of other beautiful buildings here, just some neat old architecture, and you know, it just felt old. It felt 1890s to me, and we really enjoyed Skagway. It was by far one of the most pleasant towns we've visited in a long time, and I look forward to going back in the near future.